back to the kitchen. Today we're gonna make a weeknight turkey chili that has a few secret ingredients that you may not be familiar with. All right, so here I've got my veggies. I've chopped up, it's about 2 cups of onion. I generally use white onion when I'm cooking, but this was 1 medium white onion, and I used a sweet red bell pepper. A lot of people are a fan of green peppers. My husband hates them. He tends to not like a lot of stuff as I'm doing this cooking show. So we actually leave out the green peppers. I'm gonna start with about a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. I'm gonna throw the veggies right in. So again, you wanna cook the veggies until they're softened. It just depends, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. I've got about a medium heat going. So I use red peppers. You can use yellow or orange or green, but generally stick with the sweet peppers because we're gonna have the heat come from another source. So those veggies are softening up nicely. Then I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic. I just chopped it here, so the flavor is gonna be a little softer. So if you think of the finer you dice or mince the garlic, the more flavor you're gonna impart. So I just chopped it up roughly. I'm gonna let that go for about 30 seconds just to start to smell that garlic aroma start to give way. And then I'm gonna add the dry herbs. So here I've got a combination of oregano, cumin, and cinnamon. I love adding cinnamon, especially in fall time. Cinnamon just goes, I love it. So I've got 2 tablespoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm gonna put my dry herbs in. And then chili powder, make sure you look at the label and know that it's chili powder and not like chipotle chili powder or cayenne pepper, because I have made that mistake and it is inedible. Because I'm gonna add about a 1/4 cup of chili powder. Just in there. It's gonna give it that nice, deep, rich flavor. And I'm gonna throw in a couple bay leaves there. And then we'll add about a tablespoon of tomato paste. So I'm gonna let the tomato paste cook up with all of those dried herbs and give me a nice, rich color. Smells good. All right, so that's continuing to develop flavor. Let's talk about our meat. So I have about 2 pounds of ground turkey thigh, organic. So turkey thigh is gonna have a little bit more fat than turkey breast. Don't be afraid, it's okay. It also has a lot more flavor. And if you just can't help yourself, you could do a blend of 1 pound of ground turkey breast and 1 pound of turkey thigh. But trust me, once you go thigh, you never go back. Another thing to think about is not to break up the meat into tiny little pieces. So I love getting a good chunky chili, and you have nice kind of visible bite-sized pieces of meat in the chili. Allow this to cook a little bit. Resist the urge to keep stirring and stirring and stirring. So you want to let it cook, break up the meat, and then continue to let it cook until it all becomes one color. All right, so that's starting to develop a nice even color, but it still has a little bit to go. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of kosher salt to season the meat and a little freshly ground cracked black pepper. Always adding seasonings along the way to add depth and flavor, and then always tasting your dish before you serve it and adjusting the seasonings at the end. All right, so we're gonna let that continue to cook and just breaking up some of the bigger pieces of turkey along the way. And this is our source of heat. It's chipotle peppers and adobo sauce. This is a little sauce, it has a lot of firepower. So I'm just gonna put a little bit in. It's probably a 1/2 tablespoon over all the 2 pounds of meat, because otherwise my kids won't eat it. And then I have to make them dairy-free macaroni and cheese. Nobody likes that. So I'm gonna stir that in. And then I'm gonna add the juice of a lime. I just think lime, I don't know why this seems like Mexican flavors to me, but I always love a nice, fresh citrus. And then I'm gonna add a 28-ounce can of drained diced tomatoes, and these are fire roasted. So again, it's gonna add some kind of smokiness that we've had with the cumin and the cinnamon. And those fire roasted tomatoes are gonna add to that. So we're gonna stir those in. Then our secret ingredient is we're gonna add either an ounce of dark chocolate or a little cocoa powder. So I love adding a little bit of sweetness. It's also gonna balance out the acidity in the tomatoes. And then for our liquid, we're gonna add a little beer. I choose Corona Light because it's actually the only beer that I like. But I suggest a lighter beer. So that's our liquid we're gonna allow to cook down. It takes about 45 minutes, and we're gonna add about a cup of chicken broth to that. Just again, giving it a little bit of flavor. And this is just organic, low sodium chicken broth. So we'll stir that all up, and we'll come back and check on it in about 30 minutes or so, letting it come to a nice simmer. All right, so that looks good. The liquid's reduced about by half. So we're gonna head and take that off the heat, and let's taste for seasonings. So that needs a little bit more salt. I'm gonna go ahead and add some kosher salt and stir that in. And then when it's off the heat, that's when we're gonna add our 2 cans of drained and rinsed organic red kidney beans. So we'll go ahead and stir those in. And then from here, honestly, we'll just let it get to room temperature. I always love to refrigerate my sauces and soups and chilies and eat them the next day or later on in the week. And this would be ready to freeze for a later date. So however you top your chilies, I love fresh sliced green onions. We're dairy free, so a little tofutti sour cream is always a good bet. And I love corn chips for a little extra crunch. But however you like to top your chili, you can. This is a great fall weeknight chili to make at home.